How cool is it when somebody gets on a call with you and goes, man, I feel like I know you, and awesome. You've never met them?
I've heard a million excuses where it's like, what if I say the wrong thing? I always say, like, at the end of the day, I think it's all excuses.
Hey, Joel, yourself. You draw it. And then I literally walked out.
So the thing I don't like about LinkedIn nowadays is that so much stuff is just like surface level.
Content creators, enough of the happy 4th of July, happy Memorial Day post. Nobody cares.
No, I don't think most people don't actually have anything to say, straight up. 2, most people are boring.
You're like if you're in a band and somebody's like, that band sucks. You're like, okay.
You're relevant enough to suck.
Yeah, exactly. Say rule number 2 is you have the choice to live in 2 worlds. You have the world of like reasons and excuses, and then you have the other world of performance. You can never have a foot in both. So it's either you're performing or you're making bullshit excuses of why you're not doing anything.
There's one thing that all champions have in common. They get shit done. So welcome to the Get Shit Done experience. Well, we're back at it again. This is the Get Shit Done experience, also known as the GSDX podcast. Once again, I have to share some gratitude. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Thank you for all the likes, the follows, the subscriptions, the ratings, and the reviews. But don't stop doing it. Share it with a friend. Share it with a family member. Stand outside with a megaphone. I don't know, maybe like one of those cardboard signs you hold up and say, Get Shit Done experience, pointing down to your phone and have people download it. That sounds like a good idea. I think people will do that. We have quite the episode here for you today. We've got a room full of C-suite executives, founders, content creators, brand experts, and boy, this one could go off the rails. I think we talked about that a little bit, because they also have a podcast called Business is Bullshit. So after you listen to this episode, please go to the Business is Bullshit podcast, which is on Apple, Spotify as well.
Yeah.
And please rate and review, give them a follow, give them a subscribe, a download. And I listened to one of the episodes. I listened to an episode on the ride in today, and I got to tell you, like, it had me laughing. There's a lot of depth to it, a lot of sophistication, but it's pretty funny as well.
So we don't have this level of energy, though. Like my lead-ins are never this strong.
No.
Honestly, shorter.
Step your game up.
It's usually there's an F-bomb in the first like 2 minutes.
Well, I did say a shit twice.
Okay, I got now two shits equal one fuck. I think that is the rule.
That's true. That is true.
All right, continue. Sorry.
All right. So that person that you heard speaking is James Hornick, who just a little resume thing here. He's the chief growth officer at Hirewell, and by the way, he's got 30,000 plus followers on LinkedIn. So you need more, right?
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. You reek of leather-bound books and mahogany. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, and then of course we've got John. I'm gonna screw this up. Sarakis.
Nailed it.
Let's go. And then the easy one, but the guy who brought it all together, right? Jared Gibson.
Yeah.
We're connected on LinkedIn. We chat often, and I'm glad that we reached out, put this together. So just to get it started, Jared, I'll start with you because you are co-founder of Outworks, which is all about content, right? LinkedIn training, helping businesses to build that out, personal branding period. What's the key to branding right now in 2025?
Excuse me. So I would say, first off, thanks for having us. This is awesome. I've been watching episodes. I was like, that's a pretty badass room that we will probably never get to. We do one in person is a little bit different.
We just don't care enough.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah. We don't really have a goal for our podcast.
No,
what's the point of doing it?
No,
we can get into that later. So I would say from a branding perspective, and you talk about this a lot, but personal brand today. I think we're in kind of phase 2 of what content creation is. Phase 1 was the company marketing material, jargon, all that pre-pandemic. And then the pandemic happened and we started to see into the lives of these founders and these executives at home with their kids running around and their pets, and chaos was going on, and it really humanized them, and people gravitated toward that. And you started to see more founders and executives step out from behind the company brand and really put themselves out there. And it was a massive opportunity. And I don't frankly know why more people aren't doing it. But that's what we do now is we help them build their personal brand through consistent, high quality content on LinkedIn for the most part. But we've, a lot of the content that we create can be used cross channel.
Yeah, cross channel. What's interesting is when I talk to folks about it, it's almost always fear of like, what will I talk about? There's always savings, but it's about way more than savings alone. Total Technology Solutions Group redefines managed print services. Excellence is the minimum standard. TTSG is a true managed print service provider deeply understanding your technology and business goals. Your business is unique. Our solutions are tailored to your current and future business goals. Our customer-first approach empowers and delights. TTSG can ensure your technology environment will scale as your business does. So as you navigate business and constant change, partner with TTSG for premium advisement and seamless implementation of your technology goals. We set the bar high. Your people deserve it. Peace of mind, powerful innovation, TTSG.com.
Yeah, I have that fear. I'm always concerned that I'm gonna
you
piss
put some
somebody
good
off.
stuff. But that's the thing. That's the thing that we tell everybody. And I've heard a million excuses where it's like, what if I say the wrong thing, or what if somebody judges me, or what if my buddies give me shit on a text chain, or what if I get canceled, whatever. There's tons of different reasons why, but I always say, like, at the end of the day, I think it's all bullshit excuses. It's just just get outside of your comfort zone.
But I think there's a flip side to it too, not to step on anything, but it's exciting that you could actually get canceled, or that you could say something that is going to offend somebody. It's a little bit like going to the
the flame. John just can't wait to do the one thing that's going to ruin his life. He's just like, he's the only person running towards that moment. Everyone else is running away from him.
A little bit of a moth to the flame type of thing happening.
Gotta live a little.
It is. I would love to know what goes on in your head before you create a post.
I would too.
Like, do you just do you ever pull things out that you think will get you
All the time, man. I was even on the ride here. James and I were talking, and I was like, "Hey, what's your process?" Because man, he just is a content machine, and he said, "Oh man, I'll just wake up and I'll just hammer one out and I'll send it out."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oof." I was like, I gotta like sit on that thing for a couple days. I'm like, I better not say that. I mean, it's gonna piss off somebody over here. So yeah, it takes me a little while. It's more of a it's not a marinating process. It's more of a refinement process, or however the hell they make wine. The word's escaping me.
So, John, you're a president CRO. So obviously, top of the top, talking about the brand vision, talking about the products, services, features, benefits, but you're also leading a whole bunch of people. Like, what is your platform about? Like, what are you going to try and talk about? Do you have a cadence that you work with, or do you go like James and I? It sounds like if I feel it, I post it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think feeling is definitely a part of it, because I'm not behind something, I really don't want to see it. I think the other piece is just like kind of what excites me, right? If something like just really like pisses me off, because like everybody's like talking about like AI and like how powerful it is, but I'm looking at the other angle and like how it's just dehumanizing. So things like that, if I had to like lay out my pillars, that would definitely be one of them.
Is AI a trend?
No, it's a way of life. It's like this new thing. It's going to be like plumbing in the future, where it's just something that we just accept and it's just a part of everything. But at the end of the day, all of these people saying these amazing things that it's doing, I was like, okay, well, send that to me. And nobody ever does, right? They're like, oh, the top content creator is making the most money on, what is it, like OnlyFans. I had one of my team members tell me this the other day. They're all AI generated. I was like, okay, send me those accounts. Like, I want to see that. Like, well, I saw it on Instagram. Like, it's just this like mythical thing that how powerful it is yet, and it's not, but it will be, and I'm okay with that. But don't bullshit me.
Were you more disappointed with the fact that you're into AI generated OnlyFans content?
I wanted to validate, because I don't believe, I just wanted to make sure Kachina was real.
So it's not the fact that it was about a month ago, he's like commenting on how many ads he's getting of AI generated old dudes, like lifting weights or something like that.
Yeah, so that happened.
It's a shame she still hasn't shown up for dinner.
Yeah.
All the invites, all the times. She really does love you. She's like, she really does love you.
Yeah. But I think ultimately, so I don't know. I'm starting to kind of get off on a tangent there. But I think my process is not nearly as refined as these guys, and I'm learning a lot from them. So if you had to look at like how somebody's really fucking it up, I think I would probably be the best example.
So James, is your process refined, or is that the perception? Is perception reality, or behind the scenes is it really scattered, and you're kind of winging it?
I mean, I've been writing for a long time, so that's like I had a background in doing comedy blogging like a long time ago, and I've actually written fiction now and gotten published and stuff before. So for me, it's like it's just repetition of like the more writing you do, the better you get at it. And for me, it's like as long as I have an idea of something I actually feel passionately about. I'm a huge Kurt Vonnegut fan. I read his book. Pity the Reader, and that was one of his things. It's like if you're gonna take time to write something, you better damn well feel passionate about it. And that's what I think, like everything I do, it's like, I feel like there's something actually needs to be said versus me having to say something. I think that's the biggest difference. And so I never like forced and said, okay, I got to sit down and write something or do something today. But usually there's something, I work in the talent space. There's so many things that are messed up.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are done poorly and incorrectly, whether it's from a hiring perspective or whether it's like the pains of job seekers. Like there's just like limitless angst, right? And if you can't find something in there that you can both criticize and suggest a better path forward, like your brain's off, you know? So it just comes down to kind of being inspired by something. And once I do that, it's just like, just go hard on it, you know? I kind of know where
Real hard.
Yeah, I know where the line is. So like I know what's going to actually like piss people off. But I think people are always looking for deeper. The thing I don't like about LinkedIn nowadays, which is also part of the reason for the podcast, is that so much stuff is this like surface level, just be bullshit, you know, like stuff that is either just platitudes or restating the obvious. Whereas I get much more joy out of like just take it a level deeper and like figure out, okay, what's the root cause that's causing these issues? Is there an actual path forward? And just make fun of it, you know, because I think and you have to talk in a way that people are going to be both entertained, but also feel like they learned something from. But I think I've answered like 3 or 4 questions at once, but Perfect. I am very much like what John said earlier, it's true. Like I might have an idea, I might write the idea down, but like I won't actually start writing the actual post until about 30 minutes before I post it.
So on your podcast, you had made a statement, and I'm paraphrasing, that so much that is happening in the recruiting space that is talked about is complete BS. It's not true, right? So
I'm sure I've said that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the context was, but
okay.
It's like something
He means it.
So if that being the case, what is true? What should people be looking for? Like, you're obviously the chief growth officer at Hirewell. You didn't get there. You didn't get there on accident. What does that role entail, and kind of what's the message that you would give to the marketplace about how they should approach that?
So I think what we do and makes our firm a little bit different is that we have a broad range of specialty areas. So we actually have experts in technology, go-to-market, HR, finance, those type of things. But we also look at it from an actual solutions approach. So a lot of our industry is very tactical. They're just contingent recruiting firms. They're executive, like they'll just help you with a hire. Whereas we actually have the experts in-house to actually create, okay, if you need to make this many hires across this many areas in this amount of time frame, how can we create a structured program and price it appropriately where we can actually solve the entire problem for you? Which it's very much more of a consultative, you know, it's an approach that like, you know, tech consulting firms or like marketing.
That holistic approach.
No one does that in recruiting, you know, but then part of the reason for that is because oftentimes the buyers are the problem. So, and I'm not throwing the entire HR TA industry under the bus, but I think a lot of people would realize this is like that old school mentality of create a vendor list and get 5 contingent firms and make them compete against each other. And it's just so inefficient, you know, and what our best clients are the people that are more progressive in terms of how do we create an interview process that both vets talent appropriately as well as gets candidate interested in working with us. Those are the smarter people who realize that we don't, it will be better for us to partner with a firm that takes a holistic approach than to have positions sitting open for 9 months because we don't have the right people internally to get it done. And we just don't want to use firms for the sake of not using firms because that's how we've been doing it for 30 years. So it's, part of what we talk about is obviously like things that'll help us promote us is like, hey, these guys know what they're doing. But also there's, I think internally, and we're also communicating to people who are in those seats that realize, hey, maybe there's a better way of doing this. Maybe the way that I came up earlier in my career working internal talent acquisition or HR was inefficient. Maybe I should be like thinking about how we can be better with our hiring plans and all that kind of stuff. But people aren't going to listen to that message unless you're actually just having fun delivering it. So
it's very interesting that all 3 of you have come together to collaborate on this podcast, and very different. Like, so where did the relationship start and the partnership start?
Jared's a big connector. I'll let him.
All right.
Yeah.
So how did it start? So James and I actually kind of knew each other. In a previous life, probably pre-pandemic. We were part of a group called Sales Assembly.
Oh yeah.
So we were on calls, and but then reconnected through a mutual friend, Don Bora. Don connected us, and I remember the first call that James and I had. James had this face of like, "What the fuck am I doing on this call?"
Yeah.
Like he's like, is this guy trying to sell me something?
Always. People always
And
trying
so
to
he's
sell
got
me
this guard up, and he just had this face of like he was holding the shit back in. I was like, all right, I got to break the mold.
I might have been.
That makes it.
That might have been actually.
You know, when you're a seller, it makes it super hard to be sold because you're just critiquing the person selling.
You
all
can
that.
record how hard it's got to be to sell it.
Oh my gosh! Like I've already got that vibe.
Yeah,
I'm like,
totally.
I'm like, I don't know if that intro probably sucked compared to he thinks I suck.
Yeah.
You know what? Though,
I longer could have tightened it up.
we should have a show where we just literally have people cold call. I'm like, this is your opportunity to sell James Hornick. And do it.
Yeah.
Right. And we just record.
James Hornick says no show.
Yeah.
You think I'm going to pick up the phone to answer these stupid calls?
Well, we would have to because that would be the point.
Well, if we did a podcast of people,
yeah,
if we did a podcast of people DMing you, I don't think that won't go over.
I would totally.
It's so angry.
I would totally screen cap that shit and tear it apart and point out all the flaws in the approach and post that shit.
We just gave him like 12 content ideas.
We have we got stories about our last episode. We talked about James getting into a troll fight with somebody on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's right.
Which are always fun. If you ever,
You instigated the hell out of
it
it.
was fun.
Like, get it.
So anyway, so we met through Don, and then we realized, okay, Jared's not trying to sell me. We connected and honestly just became friends because neither of us really take ourselves too serious. And we call out things that need to be called out. And I don't feel like I have to be fake around James. I'm at the age now where I'm like, if I want to cuss and if I want to tell inappropriate stories, like those are the people, and he's the same way.
Yeah.
And then John,
Oh my God.
John, I met through a networking group,
Yeah.
I think. And we went out and had drinks one time. Well, John had a Dr. Pepper. I had a drink. And
It was a walk.
he invited me to an event. And we hit it off. And again, John was like kind of from the same mold that James and I are from, where we don't take ourselves too serious. We're good at what we do. So then I connected these two, and we started just honestly hanging out. And like we were like, what event are we going to this week? We're on like a text chain.
And we go to some event, and half the time the events are terrible. So we're just in the corner making fun of everything happening at the event or all the awful people that are there.
Yeah. But most of the stuff we go to now, I think we weed out the bad stuff. The stuff we all do now together is all good quality groups of people that we're surrounding ourselves with. But
He's saying this in case someone listens.
Yeah, I know. Did you hear the self-protection?
anybody,
I wasn't talking about you, Carl.
Please still invite me to events.
yeah, but that's honestly what it was. And then there's a whole story behind how we started the podcast. But it comes down to,
question.
was that the question?
Yeah.
And then we literally were out one day, and we're like, huh?
This is how I have to like keep things rolling.
Yeah, I see list. Yours
in my role.
You're the junior.
I thought the original question was, how did you
eat? Yeah.
You didn't ask about the podcast, John.
I think it's implied. Yeah.
Take a deep breath.
Okay, so I just talked about this on a podcast. Nothing can be implied anymore.
Oh, really?
Can't assume anything.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right.
Okay.
That's a great defense.
Is that I see how he stood up for you right there?
That's that. Love it, Eric. Just forward this. I can bottom line this.
I was going straight into it. What's going this?
Yeah, it was a segue.
Thanks, Jared. Now Joe and I are fighting.
You're up.
Or John and I are fighting.
We're out two of us are having drinks. John's not. And these guys are like, why don't we start our own networking group? And I'm just like, oh God, like I'm already going out like twice a week to talk
Talking
to
about it running it.
Yeah. And you're like, wait, let's put an email list together. I'm just like, this is awful. Then one of you guys said, maybe a podcast. I just jumped on that. Like, oh, that sounds way better because I actually run podcast. Why would you want to run your own networking group? It's the worst thing in the world. You got to like actually organize. Like event planning is terrible. Whereas podcasting, like we just jump on a call and doing a podcast.
And we in essence record what we were already talking about when we were about.
That was the thesis.
That was the thesis.
You are the content.
Yeah. And then it's just like, because then it was like, what are we going to talk about? And I think I just came up with the title, Business is Bullshit. Like, guy, because my other podcast, a 10-minute talent rant, all I do is it's a 10-minute segment where we crap on something in the talent industry. I'm like, it's the same podcast. We just do the broader business world. And it's like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
What pissed you off this week? And let's rant on that.
I think there's a line though, because if it's too much
Wait, hold on. John just said there is a line.
Yeah. He knows there is one. He just doesn't know where it is.
Yeah.
It's blurred.
It's somewhere.
But I think the line is like, or the formula rather, like if there's just too much cynicism, there's too much negativity, it's not going to work, right? Like who wants to just listen to a depressing podcast that isn't about, like some crime thriller that a bunch of people can get around? But I think what we enjoy though is like just the balance of it, right? We like to have a good time, and that's ultimately what it's about. But how can we just throw this thing together and see what happens?
So do you wrap it off at the end? Like, are you wrapping it up where you're shitting on something, and then at the end you go, now here's the good news? Or is that another podcast you're starting?
The endings are a little, because usually what happens is we've just gone too long, and I'm like, all right, guys, we're done. And I just like kind of do our outro just to like stop, because I've noticed with most podcasts, there's like 25 to 30 good minutes, and then it turns into ramp. No matter what podcast it is, after a while, everyone's already said what they need to say.
Yeah.
Now, John can keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Jared will keep asking questions when it continues, because Jared is he likes talking to people, but like it's just eventually it gets to that point where it's just like, all right, we're done. I do believe that but I did want to add one. So we try to have like takeaways of some sort, not necessarily at the end, but we do try to pitch a solution how things should be as we're like crapping on things. I do think that, I don't think it's really cynicism, but just where it turns into observational comedy is like pulling out things that maybe people haven't thought of that piss them off.
Yeah.
I think people like that. People can resonate with that. Like, oh yeah, that annoys me too.
Yeah. And I think too, like, these guys are like really, I guess, huge on LinkedIn, right? They're prodigious in producing content and whatnot. And I think I've kind of like dabbled in it. I've gone back and forth. But another thing I like about the podcast is that we can shit on all of the bullshit that you see on LinkedIn. Right? It's almost like if you've worked in corporate America and it's Janice's birthday, and it's in there, and half the people in the office fucking hate Janice. But they're all in there like, oh yeah, we got carrot cake today. Yeah, Janice, great. It's like, okay, man, like that is literally the most disingenuous way of life, and that literally sucks the soul out of everybody. So it's like, all right, well, how can we poke fun at that and just have a little bit of fun?
So the poke fun at that on LinkedIn would be the graphic that is hyper branded out with a picture of Karen, like not happy that she had to get her picture taken. And it's like, we'd like to wish her a happy birthday.
Yeah.
Like, what value is that? You just took up your marketing team's time to essentially create that.
And there's these boring rituals and traditions that it's just like, well, it's somebody's birthday. We gotta give them a birthday cake. Like, I think if you remove all those things and actually create some authenticity and actually bring in some more life, I mean, that's where the fun's.
I don't mind the birthday post, but why don't you take the camera and say, and put it on video and say, hey, happy birthday. What are you going to do this weekend? Right?
I hate that too.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you're going to do it, like, instead of just the picture, like, get a little culture out of it, get a little vibe.
What? How about you have Janice on there, and then all the employees talk about, like, why they don't like her?
That would be awesome.
That's where
that would be awesome. Like, she's like, I'm so happy it's my birthday, and then it cuts to someone else. Like, nobody likes Janice.
That's a roast. That's that roast.
But Janice leaves, and then she goes to this other company, and everybody likes her. Yeah. So that's when the populace did a huge favor for Janice.
So content creators, enough of the happy 4th of July, happy Memorial Day posts. Like,
cares.
Nobody cares.
No, I mean, nobody does.
It's tails,
but it's fine. The thing that I love about our podcast, I look forward to when we're recording. Like, it comes up on a Friday, I'm like, oh fuck, like, yeah, it's like a light at the end of the tunnel for the week. And because we get on it, and it's like we're all of the age. I mean, we're all over 40, and like there's so much that I've wanted to say throughout my career, that like all the experiences that I've had throughout my career. Some good, some bad, some really bad, some that like I just always bit my tongue. And this it gives me like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, if you don't like this, then it's whatever. That's not a problem to me. Like, I'm going to voice it. Like, most people probably agree with the stuff that we're saying. Some people probably think it's a little bit too vulgar and not PC, but like, who cares?
Well, the cool thing about a podcast is like, most people are never going to get a platform. Like, nobody's going to give them a platform to speak those lessons, how they overcame adversity, stuff that bothers the hell out of them, what they think is going to happen in the draft tonight. Like, nobody's ever going to just give you that platform. The cool thing about podcasting is to be like, I'm just going to create that platform myself. I got some shit to say.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the beauty of it.
The other thing too is like when we started it out, it was also like, what's the point of this? What are we trying to? Nothing. There's no point. We're not trying to achieve anything.
It's like Seinfeld.
There's no. So if you're trying to create content that helps all your businesses and whatnot, there's zero value to our businesses. This podcast, we do that on our own to others. So we're just talking shit and having fun with it. I have no pretensions that like I'm going to get business out of this. I just hope people have a good time.
In fact, I know I'm losing business because of it.
You are.
Well, interestingly enough, it might actually be, how people quiet quit now? I think people are quiet shopping now. So like they don't want to be sold, right? So like I read a study from Foresight that talked about consumers want 86% of the buying experience to be humanless. And I could attest to that too. Like I'm an avid golfer. I really don't want to go to the PJ store. I really don't want to go to Golf Galaxy. Like if I know what I want, I'd rather.
I don't want to go to the PJ.
I mean,
store is like Disney World.
I know, but the
nice.
problem is like I can't buy all the shit there, so it actually is more frustrating for me.
I hate golf.
Because then I gotta hide it from my wife for months, and you know. So I'd rather just be like on Instagram scrolling, and be like, all right, impulse buy. Nobody's judging. I have to go talk to the sales guy who's trying to upsell me on some shit that I didn't want in the first place.
But see, I think that is where they're injecting a salesperson into something, and it doesn't belong.
It doesn't belong there, right?
Yeah. So I think that you're messing up the entire experience on account of that.
So the point being is like, while you're doing this podcast, you're saying there's no value to your business whatsoever. The value is that it's like 3 layers back because they're hearing the content. They're going, these guys are cool. Like I can relate. I think shit sucks too. And then they're like, well, let me see who this John guy is a little bit deeper. So then they go to your LinkedIn. They're like, oh, okay, well, he's kind of loony on the podcast, but dude's a president of a company. So that's pretty insane. And then they're going to give you the follow. And then they're going to read the content a little bit. And then the moment that they need a service like yours, it's like cataloged in their brain.
It's a good point.
So you might be...
John's my new life coach.
That's right. It's a stretch.
Oh my God. No, but I think there's a lot of...
See, I knew you were going to be cynical.
Dude,
I've already vibed you.
That's part of the whole thing is you just have to take this is the thing that
it's a long game.
This is actually, I think what makes our podcast successful is you were talking about like stuff on LinkedIn. If you just challenge yourself to find the opposite side of whatever people are talking about,
interesting,
you will learn something about yourself as well as whatever gap it was because this is the thing I hate. My biggest annoyance with LinkedIn, I think almost all of it sucks. And the reason why almost all of it sucks is because most people, it becomes an echo chamber of some guys giving advice on how to be a better SDR, make better cold calls. Then all of a sudden, like 5 other people jump in, or it's okay to say that maybe cold call, like just the fact that everyone's cold calling's dead.
Don't you fuck.
The fact that everyone is a joiner and no one comes up with their unique insights is kind of part of the issue.
Well, I'll say it. I think cold calling sucks.
Yeah,
I think it is dead if you don't do 6 steps ahead of it, which is why I think you exist. It's why I think I exist. It's like, why would you cold call a complete stranger, interrupt their day, completely throw them off? Kind of have to beg.
But we've all done it.
We've all done it, and it does work. But why not create content? Get on a podcast, start a podcast, post daily. So kind of work into a little bit of trust and liking, and then make the call.
Here's why. Because first off, like I don't think most people don't actually have anything to say. Straight up. I know you probably like. I don't know if you agree. I think we had this conversation once before. 2, most people are boring. Let's just be honest. Like not everyone can create content because you have to have something to say and you have to be entertaining.
Yeah.
Or at least know how to write in a way that's like.
I think you also have to have positions. Just because you have something to say doesn't mean you actually hold a position on something.
And that's
I think a key too is a lot of people just don't have a position.
And that's the thing is, and like not everyone, it's just like anything else. Like not everyone can do it, you know. And it's not to say, and I'm not saying I'm so good because I can do these things, but like I believe that is the biggest barrier. Whereas like you can teach anyone to pick up the phone and make a cold call.
There's 2 people that are highly effective on LinkedIn. The people that say the thing that you know everyone is absolutely going to agree with, and gives everyone comfort and it's easy. And
I don't think it's effective.
I think it's kind of boring. I don't like it.
And then the video of the old lady crossing the road with like a guy, and like, yeah, this is what it's like to help people out. We're talking about this on the way up, and this. Well, that's what we eat more of, right?
Exactly.
This
I learned it from watching you, Dad.
Because there's a difference between engagement and views and actually getting business out of it. It's like you can go viral by just posting easily agreeable nonsense, posting memes, or posting like in my realm, it's like pandering to job seekers and how unfair the world is, and you'll get but no one's going to buy from you.
They're just agree.
Yeah, the amount of people I know who are like quote unquote content creators who have big followings that don't actually make any money out of it. It's just like a big dopamine fix for them. Because they don't post anything interesting or insightful that anyone's going to listen to. Like that's like the norm, which is why I think copying what other people do is a dumb idea. Copying what people are talking about is a dumb idea. Like for our company, we actually have a brainstorming session company-wide every other week where we strictly talk about what are our clients talking about? Like what are our end users that have pain points? Like what are they discussing? And that's kind of our basis for what we decided to talk about, not like what everyone in the LinkedIn spheres, because those topics are all played out and half of them are nonsense anyway.
So that's an interesting point. I'm curious, how do you gather that data? Like, how are you getting the data from your customers of what they're talking about, what they're saying? Are you sending surveys out to them?
No. I mean, all of our,
how are you gathering
all of our
that?
people who are client facing.
Okay.
Like, what challenges are if your client contact or whoever, or the engagement we have going on, like, what's their biggest challenge? What's the new trend they're seeing? What are they saying to you? What questions are you getting? Those kind of things. And that's the basis, because we'll end up seeing trends. Like, it ends up being, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Typically, if one person says, my client, like, here's a challenge they're having, someone else probably had the same thing. But these things are very cyclical, kind of in the hiring sphere. But that makes all the content we do is based on those things, actual real life insights, not just like internet garbage.
But that's the key, right? So when I create a post, for the most part, sometimes I have internet garbage. Like my post today was probably internet garbage.
It was totally.
It was beautiful though.
Yeah.
Great graphics.
Beautiful guy. Yeah, one man
Chat
scratch, another
GPT did a great
treasure.
job with that.
Yeah. No. A little bit. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
See, I was trying to help you out.
Now he told me he wasn't going to post the post. You posted today.
I did, because I was like, fuck, I'm just going to put it out. It's in the bank. I'm just going to get it out of here. But the content that for the most part I create around what we do is based on conversations that I'm actually having with people. Like, it's pain points that I know. So every time I create one of those types of posts, I'm not like picturing a whole group of people. I'm picturing one person.
Yeah.
This is for like one person, and that person has a problem. I just
Knowing there's 100 other people like that.
Yeah.
That's actually
the person just has an IQ.
bringing back Vonnegut. That's actually a Vonnegut point.
Yeah.
Right. He wrote for his sister who passed away. Yeah. Every book he wrote was like, I'm writing this towards my sister.
She was hit by a train right in front of him, though, so it's kind of a messed up process.
Is that true?
No.
Do you think he was writing to her before or after?
Idiots. Probably both.
So it's kind of like the idea of you're doing public speaking. They say pick one person out.
Yeah.
And like look at them.
Have you ever been to a public speaking event, though, and somebody's like completely zeroed in on you?
It's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Did you see
that person sucks?
Have you seen the Key and Peele skit?
No, I love those guys, though.
Oh my gosh. There's a Key and Peele skit, and I can't remember. The bald guy is playing a senator.
Yeah,
and he's pitching this room at like a town hall. And he's like, I don't care if you're a woman, I'm going to fight for you. And I don't care. And like the camera pans to a woman, right? And then he's like, I don't care if you're in your 70s. I'm going to fight for you. And it pans to like this older guy in his 70s. The guy's like this. And he's like, I don't care if you're straight. I'm going to fight for you. And then it goes to the other guy. I think he's Key.
He goes, I don't care if you're gay.
He goes, I don't care if you're straight or gay. I'm going to fight for you. And it goes to Peele. And he's like, I'm not. He's like, not me. And then he continues just to push on that point, and he keeps trying to move out of camera, and the camera keeps finding him throughout the room. It is scary though when you're at a speaking engagement and they're like, "How you picked me as the person to look at?"
Or if it's your friend and they keep focused on it, you're like, dude, like stop.
Yeah, I felt that way when I was doing the opening. I made the mistake of turning to my right and looking at James, and he was like, "That's enough.
You will not get confidence of it.
That's enough.
No,
that's enough."
It's sizing you up, figuring out how to tear you down.
Yeah, zone in.
Walked in here.
Zone in on Jared.
My biggest question, like, why you wanted us on your show? That was like driving up here. You realize that we're just going to shit on this whole thing. Like, I actually want to do a podcast on why podcast guests are terrible. Or why they're bullshit, because that's how we theme all of our shows.
Well, what's interesting is
not be terrible.
I'll tell you why. I've been following Jared for years now, and we kind of do similar things, and I think we kind of have a bond through. And you always have somebody that you like know through LinkedIn, and you think that you actually know them, like you think you're friends because you just like all their posts, and you're like, wow, their perspective's really cool. So we had tried to meet, I think, in the past, and it didn't work out. I think I had something come up, and I was terrible.
Just blew him off.
Just kind of blew him off.
I'm in sales.
Yeah, but
part of the game.
So there was that, and then he had posted about your episode release, and then I was like, well, now I got to get the whole crew on. Like this.
Nah, that's cool. We appreciate it, despite what James says.
Yeah.
James doesn't speak for us.
Yes, I do.
He hates everything.
You
wouldn't ask to.
You would be a great agent.
Otherwise, it'd be the easily agreeable podcast. Yeah.
You would be a great agent. We're not taking that contract. You kidding me? You're really going to go with Reebok? I can get you with Nike.
That's good.
So, Jared, as it relates to branding, you see a lot of these brand coaches. There's so many coaches on LinkedIn, right? And
love them.
They're all.
They're great.
I feel like they're all
great profession. Where they go to school for that?
I feel like they're all boxing people into this thing. Like, don't say that. don't say that. Don't do that.
Sound like the robot I want you to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Like brain.
Sound exactly like everyone else.
And then here we are. You guys got a podcast that business is bullshit. I've got a podcast that's the Get Shit Done experience. I've had one troll that was like, "Do you really need to use this low grade profanity in your title?" And we were like, "Yes."
But see, yeah, when you run into those guys, we had a troll on one of ours or whatever, and I was at like a golfing event, and I had to get some help. But I think that's a sign of success.
I agree.
You're like if you're in a band and somebody's like, "That band sucks," you're like, "Okay,
you're relevant enough to suck."
Yeah, exactly.
You're on somebody's radar.
Yeah, nobody's apathetic. You know, something gives some emotion.
Gives me someone to light up.
Yeah.
So let's blow these coaches up, because for me, my thing is like,
was there
how you meet me on a golf course, how you meet me in my family room, how you meet me at a restaurant or my kids' recital. I want to be the same exact way that I show up. I'm gonna drop bombs. I'm gonna make the joke that is stupid. I got dad jokes. Probably gonna say the wrong thing. Probably gonna talk too much. And that's how I'm gonna be on LinkedIn. So what is your advice, or blow up these coaches that are giving the advice to just be so buttoned up and sitting in front of a camera? And
do those, like, I guess I don't know the coaches that are like the PR, like the consultants that are like your media training like that. Any of the coaches that I know, for the most part, wouldn't say something.
More in line with.
They're more in line. Like, it's, if anybody says that, it's immediately like, okay, on to the next one. Like, I don't. Do you guys get that a lot, where the people are saying button your shit up?
Well, I run into that, yeah, where people are like, "Hey, you shouldn't be that way." But I ultimately look at it, right, being, kind of a 20-year career in marketing, is you will ultimately find your audience.
Yeah.
You can pander, you can do whatever you want. And it's the same thing with creating connections and friends. You can try to put on this front, but eventually somebody's going to see through it. That veneer, it's going to wear down. So just a saying I've lived by and I love, and it's just be yourself or be by yourself. And it's this, I believe it's the same thing with creating content. I think.
James hates inspiration.
But ultimately, where you have like certain political and like cultural things that are happening, I love to just joke around and have fun. Mm-hmm. And I've realized that my sense of humor is it can be too edgy. And being from Florida, which a lot of people hold that against me, and then moving to Chicago and saying some things, I'll say something, and it happened to us the other day, and I'll watch people go, "Ooh."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're not touching that. Like, oh, that's hot.
What did you say?
We were talking about Apollo. Remember that guy?
Apollo. Oh, the theater. Yeah.
It was literally a crowd around us, right?
That's good.
All right, so we're talking. So everybody's like, "Hey, I think I met you at the Apollo event," and I wasn't registering. They're talking about the software, and I'm like,
"Here we go.
What are you talking about?" And then I was like, "Are you talking about like the Black Theater?" And everybody was like, "Whoa." Yeah. Like that was like.
And why is that wrong to say? That's what it is.
Wrong to say. To me,
that's what it is.
But to all these other people who I'm assuming are racist, it was wrong to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, guys, I'm like...
Hey, well, hold on a second, though, John. They're not racist. They're closet racist, which is totally different.
But, like, why is the word black, like, untouchable? It's not like... What was this, a Klan meeting all of a sudden?
Exactly.
So, but I think, I kind of said it, a little bit in joking, but I was just... But I was being serious. Like, I had no idea what they're talking about. But here's the beauty of that. I
ribbon.
I finally... Somebody was like...
Wrap this one up, baby.
Yeah. They're like, "No, we're talking about the Apollo software event." I was like, "Okay, well, it makes sense." So no, I don't.
That's a whole different theater.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's good.
So
that's good. It's just another Thursday.
So the room just totally went cold at that point.
Listen, that was rated G compared to some of the shit that you said.
But I you to get a rated G example. John's a nice guy. I don't want to bring this special about that.
I think you go give a more hardcore example where you put your foot in your mouth.
Why don't you give it up?
Oh, yeah, maybe we don't.
Man, we have this whole like baiting situation.
Fast forward. We don't push them to the limits.
Yeah,
when you can't take it out afterwards.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
So do you guys get in arguments? Do you guys
debates? I don't think any of it's heated. Like if something sucks, we're not afraid to tell the other one. Like, dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, oh, kind of. Yeah.
Then do you go in with? I know the last episode that I listened to, you went in with a theme. There was 5 questions.
We've got a theme.
Yeah, we pick a theme.
Every episode's got a theme.
I'm a planner from the standpoint that I just like to know like what are we talking about, and give me time to think of like 2 or 3 things I think need to be said, and And I think that's just having an idea, because you don't want to go in and be cold and like end up leaving good ideas on the table. Like if we're going to talk about whatever issue it is, I want to make sure like if there's 3 things I feel strongly about, that I have them written down in front of me, so I remember to bring them up at some point in time if I think so. Beyond that, that's probably, but I think having a planning and a theme is important, but besides that, it's all pretty much off the cuff.
Yeah, we can't, if we just went in and didn't have anything to talk about, like we would probably spend the entire episode talking about one thing, and it would get old within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think James has done a good job of like shaping that, because I don't think we would have done that. I think we would have just kind of, I don't know, circled the drain. But he was like, all right, hey guys, I've done all these podcasts. Let's go ahead and do this. So yeah, we start out with like this theme. Our show notes are pretty basic, and then we just go.
Yeah. The last episode for me, the one that just came out, was 12 episodes in. I think that's
12, yeah.
So we're still like very early on. There's plenty of more stuff that we can shit on that's out there. But
I mean, it's the world's limitless.
Yeah,
like we're never going to run out of things to complain about.
We're going to have an entire episode, I think, of things that James likes.
Yeah, it's
short. Just like
it's going to be a 3-minute episode.
But our last episode was good, and we probably could have like multiple episodes about it. We did 2 business pet peeves, 1 personal pet peeve, and we at the end of it we realized like, man, we cussed a lot in this episode. So we had, okay, well, James, why don't you say something that can basically apologize for the language, and we'll put that to the front of the episode when it comes out, so people are aware.
Parental advisory.
Yeah.
Like, we just got a little, I'm not heated at each other, but when you start like jumping on the pile of stuff that pisses you, like, oh yeah, I haven't thought about that. And then next thing you know, you're dropping F-bombs because you think of some story of like when that happened to you, and you're like, damn it. That's pretty much the end.
Yeah. So I asked the question because this podcast is themed by title. Right. Yeah. So as we talked about at the beginning, right, like success leaves clues. We're building this catalog of what the top, whether it be business professionals, founders, executives, athletes, and so on. So we're 40 minutes in, and we gave people a pretty good vibe of the personality types that are in the room. Right. So now I kind of want to get a feel for like, what is your methodology, steps, beliefs, foundation for getting shit done? And the way that you do that in life, does that transfer to business, or do you have a one way in life that you're going and then you have to kind of separate it? I think sometimes when I talk to people that are in corporate USA, it's like they kind of have to do life one way, but then there's a way within corporate USA, whereas entrepreneurs are kind of like, I became an entrepreneur so I could just do business the way I do life.
That's kind of my route.
So yeah, John, so I'll start with you. Like, what is your, if you were going to give some advice, there are people that probably listen to this that want to be at your level at some point.
Yeah, I think number 1 is get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like too many people get complacent. Mm-hmm. I'd say that's rule number 1. I'd say, maybe I can make some rules out of this. I'd say rule number 2 is you have the choice to live in 2 worlds. I learned this from a leadership program I was in. It was profoundly effective for me. You have the world of like reasons and excuses, right? And then you have the other world of performance. You can never have a foot in both. So it's either you're performing or you're making bullshit excuses of why you're not doing anything, right? And that's essentially your integrity. And then the other thing is make sure whatever you're doing is fun. Everybody says like, follow your passion and do whatever that thing is. I think ultimately, work is work. And I can't remember the guy. I think his last name's like Manson or Mason or something. But, work is a shit sandwich. No matter what, it's going to taste like shit, but just find the best one, the best tasting one. So I think ultimately, just try to make it fun. Surround yourself with people that you enjoy being around, and then, something that you can tolerate or be patient with, and find it fun.
James, is the follow your passion a total bullshit statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, you laid that on the fucking platter, Fred. You knew it coming.
You see how I like, you threw it out there. And I was like,
yeah, bro. Yeah.
Hey, so
we're like Mav and Goose, set and slam, but not as oiled up, and my shorts are longer. IT decision makers, this might sting. Frustrated with IT issues, security threats, and the stress of your technology infrastructure, your technology should blend seamlessly with your business objectives. Technology infrastructure management with limited resources can be exhausting and counterproductive. Do you have an MSP but still have problems and technical hiccups? GSD's advisement, proactive maintenance, cutting-edge cybersecurity, cloud solutions, data backup, and local 24/7 help desk can change the game. Your technology should outpace your business operations to allow for growth, and proactive strategies should prevent issues before they arise. Get back your time and your money with GSD. Drive business forward. Leave the technology to GSD. GSDnow.com.
I mean, here's why. I think this is also part of the reason for the podcast. Like, absolutely nothing any of us do in the business world or even here, none of this is natural. None of this is like, if you look back at like human development from like a hunter-gatherer standpoint, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
We're sitting in front of screens, clicking buttons all day.
It is
like,
so not natural.
Nothing we do makes any sense whatsoever. And I'm not saying like you should quit your job and go like live on the land, but I'm just saying you have to recognize that this is everything we do is absurd.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast
luxury.
and you sit in a cubicle, sit in your house, whatever you're doing, it's absurd that you're doing.
Seriously, drive to a beach and go for a
But
walk.
this is the world we live in. That's
Don't
why it's
bring
so
it
easy
down.
to find out things that are. It's so easy to find things that are bullshit because all of it is bullshit. Like money is a fake construct that we've created that drives us all.
But I hear this all the time, right? So I'll hear like, if you follow your passions
Yeah.
and you do that, then you're never working a day of your life.
Because your passions, none of this is our.
Yeah, what if you but what- like
Absolutely,
what if your
shit might be our passion because that's what we're doing right now.
what if your passion is knitting?
Yeah, or being homeless.
Yeah,
Fuck it. They might know what they're doing.
Dude, oh my gosh, that actually kind of sounds great. Sometimes I am envious.
Yeah.
I'm like, they just like
Right.
they just get up, they're like,
scream
what am I going to do today? Yeah, I don't know. I might scratch my rear end and yell at a lady.
I just shit myself. Just part of my day.
I mean everybody does, right? There's, but that's why it's bullshit. That's why the whole passion thing's bullshit.
Yeah. But I do agree with the fun thing. Like you can turn anything fun.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. This is a copier printer IT company that does some marketing.
Right.
The first two companies might not be the most fun type of thing, but you could certainly figure out a way to make the day fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it a passion? Like, I don't know. Is anyone passionate about IT?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Are
those
there
people exist, but I never think it's like 20% of the people that are working in a workforce are usually passionate about
Yeah.
the thing, and the other 80% are just being dragged along, and they don't want to be there.
I think that throughout my career, there's certain things that I just didn't want to do. I didn't like doing them. I didn't want like living by my calendar. Like, just there's so many different things. And like, when I decided to become an entrepreneur, I was like, this is the life that I want. I want to be able to work out at 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock, or I want to be able to golf on Thursday afternoons. Like, am I getting all my shit done? Unintended here, right? Am I doing everything that I need to do to support my family, to support my co-founders? Am I checking off all these boxes? What's the reason why I wanted to create that freedom, which I have, right? And I don't know if I necessarily would have done that had I not surrounded myself with other entrepreneurs over the last, let's say, 4 years or so. If I had just been surrounding myself with people that were just in the corporate world and seeing that, I probably would be working for somebody today. But I kind of found my tribe with this group that I joined, and I wasn't an entrepreneur at the time, but they all were. And I started building like really good personal relationships with them. And I was like, fuck, I can do this. Like, they built successful businesses. Like, I can absolutely do this. So I knew whatever was going to be next was going to be my own
So
thing.
what was the domino that fell? Because I have mad respect for people that take the jump to become an entrepreneur. There's no safety net.
Yeah.
Right. It takes a lot of balls to go do that. So, but it also takes enough good things happening and enough confidence and courage kind of all molding into one for you, or a little bit of lunacy as well for you to like make that jump. So what domino falls where you go, now I'm going?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to my domino.
I know my domino.
Yeah.
You go first. I want to hear your domino.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
Play
you
dominoes.
can see if you can one up my domino.
All right, go.
So I worked for this other marketing company at the time, and it got like super Machiavellian in corporate, right? So it started with me. First, my dad fired me in front of a group of people. I was going to college at the time, and this guy that I went to school with
Tommy
was like,
Talent
"Hey,
over here.
why don't you come to work for my dad and me? We got this company." I was like, "All right, it was a small marketing company." That company rapidly grew, but when it started, we would go wakeboarding in the morning, and we would go like partying at night. It was like every late teen, early 20s guy's dream.
Yeah.
And then the company just rapidly grew, and these consultants bought in, and we were like going national with all these different campaigns. and it became like super corporate. And in doing that, like the guys that were like my buddies, I looked at them as like older brothers, were starting to get played by this like this group. So I saw them like get undermined and whatnot. So like in one week, I went from like, hey, all right, I think it was 26 years old and managing, millions of dollars in budgets, to literally walking out and saying, fuck this, I'm going to start my own thing. And that's the day that I started, where I was undermined by the new CEO.
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking to a marketing meeting. I have my whole marketing team behind me. Some mailer was late in Ohio. And he says, hey, why was that mailer late in Ohio, John? And I said, well, I don't know. I was like, as soon as I get done with this meeting, I'll go take a look and let you know. And meanwhile, the night before, he took me out to dinner and he's like, we're going to be buddies.
We're family.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
We're family.
And I told him like, hey, just give me a minute after I get out of this meeting, I'll tell you. And he pokes me in the chest with a marker and he says, no. Points to the whiteboard. He's like, you're going to draw that right now. And I looked at my team and they all had that look on their face like dude, no, man. Like, don't do this. Like, we like you. We believe in you. And I looked at him and I was like, hey, Joel, go fuck yourself. You draw it.
Let's go.
And then I literally walked out. And that's the day that.
So your domino was
I can't
a
take it.
fuck you moment.
Yeah. It's like, I can't take this anymore. Dude, I was like working like 20 hours a day. I'm not kidding, man. Like, granted, I was like smoking down, 2 packs of hoons. But
I just visualized like when you did that, like there was like this kind of.
Did you flick
This build, there was this build up music, and then all of a sudden, like I just see you walking out of the building, like ripping your jacket off, and like the building blows up behind you, and you just like don't even move, like one hair moves, and you put the sunglasses on.
yeah,
That'd be great. So we're gonna write the movie.
But there does have to be a point in that. Yes, pants are off, where he walks out and like just all calm, breathes in the fresh air, reaches into his pocket and just pulls out the fucking box of Reds and slowly lights it up. Oh yeah, breathes it in.
Is that nicotine over there? Speaking of which,
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good. I didn't have a fuck you moment like that, but mine was
one up it.
Mine was
Real.
The company I was running marketing for was acquired, and it was an absolute dumpster fire of an acquisition, like really bad. Like nobody's listening to this, but I just didn't like the people at the top of the company that acquired us were very transactional, just not good people. They
Get the dollar.
step on anybody below them. And I kind of realized that, and it wasn't fun going through the process, but the president of my company that got acquired, who I'm still friends with, said to me in the middle of the shitstorm, like, hey, don't rob yourself of the opportunity to weather this storm, meaning experience it, go through it, understand what you don't want and whatever's next for you. So I went through that and I realized like, this is my opportunity to like start this. So I could sit and pout and bitch and say, fuck the world, like, and make excuses, or I could use this as an opportunity to do something that I wanted to do for a few years. And I got back together with 2 guys and did it. But the thing that I think there's 2 dominoes for me. That was one. The other one was like, I had to be somebody had to put a mirror in front of me later on in my career because I was the blamer. I was the guy that made excuses. And during an interview process, I'd been let go for the first time in my life from this company. And I was all like, motherfuck the company and all this stuff. And then I went through this interview process.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Right.
And I went through this interview process and I met with the CEO and the founder of this private equity group. This is the company that got the company I was with that got acquired. I ended up getting the job, but I went through this interview process and these guys beat the shit out of me I thought they were like, we talked about like Ohio State football at the beginning. I'm like, oh, these guys are great. And then all this
reeling
me in. And then at one point the guy goes, how much money do you want to make? This is the president, big dude. And I gave him a number.
What was the number?
I think I said 500,000.
Okay.
Here. And he goes, good. If you would have said 1 penny below that, I would have gotten up and walked the fuck out of this room. And that was kind of for me. I was like, okay, well, this made a turn. Mm-hmm. The other guy goes, well, what's been holding you back? And I go, worst thing I could say. I'm like, I don't know. And so anyway, we go through this stuff and they beat the shit out of me. They're like, I think you're okay with losing. It's like, we can't have anybody on our fucking team that's okay. Like, you seem literally, I think they called me a pussy in the interview process, like all this stuff. So it was like a 3-hour beatdown. I leave, I call my wife and I tell her what happened. And I'm like, I think it's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you talking about? She's like, if it was like a week ago, you would have been like, these guys are douchebags, on to the next one. But I needed to be knocked off the pedestal. I needed somebody to put the mirror in front of me. So that was like that moment in my career where I stopped blaming people and kind of took responsibility for my actions. So had I not gone through that, I also would not have been a founder.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's always interesting to hear people's stories of what lit the fire under them. There's some people that need validation to have the fire lit, and there's other people. Both of your stories, like you had to be pissed off.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
You only know when it's enough, when it's more than enough.
I'm excited to hear this.
James, I'm curious. I have a question. I want you to answer that, but I have another question. I'm seeing more and more conversation, and I know that like the 40-hour work week was set up as part of the Matrix plan to like get everyone to fall in line and so on and so forth. But there's a lot that I'm seeing where people are saying, "Hey, look, I work 28 hours a week, and I get way more done than 40 because in that 28, I'm like totally locked in. I know I have to get my stuff done." So, what say you in regards to whether companies should be heavily policing the 40-hour work week, or if they should be more focused on outcomes?
There's a lot to unpack there. The first problem is that like most of what anyone does isn't truly a 40-hour week job. When companies would make people do 40 hours a week, they're doing 30 hours and then they're sitting by the water cooler for another 10. Now, we could argue back and forth if that extra 10 actually had value. You could say from a culture standpoint, from a learning standpoint, maybe it does. When you're at home, probably
Hydration standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hydration standpoint.
it is very important to hydrate.
But I think that's the issue, is that there's so many companies aren't really results driven to be. They're results driven maybe from their financial metrics, you know what I mean, or however they're kind of tracking things. But a lot of activity metrics are just busy work metrics, you know. And then you add AI into the discussion, which takes us into a bigger thing. And I've theorized that as AI takes hold, it's going to benefit people who are both strategic and tactical thinkers. People who are tactical are the ones going to get replaced by AI. People who are strategic, who don't know how to use AI, are also going to get replaced by AI because they don't know how to leverage things properly. Problem is, there's not many people in that bucket that can kind of think with both sides of the brain. I realize I'm going way off topic here, but
You are.
But once you get kind of
you are the topic.
Once you add AI into it and kind of where that's going to, because I think it's impossible to predict how the whole 28 productive versus 40 because of it. When you add AI into the conversation, it's gonna be a completely different conversation 2 years from now, anyways. Because for all we know, half the people who are doing the 28-hour week are going to be unemployed anyway because AI is going to replace them, or vice versa. People are going to realize you're working 40 hours a week, you should get 3 times as much done. But how many people are going to be capable of using AI to achieve that? So
what's the key to using AI to that point? Like you're still talking about strategic. What is the way to use it strategically?
I don't know if anyone has a great answer to this, which is why like most AI takes are bullshit, because it's a bunch of pedestrian people on LinkedIn.
And it's also so fluid. Like the minute that you give it the answer, it changes the next day.
I think
it's like 3 months, right?
Everything's. But I think it's people who can continually look at how. Think of it. Don't think in terms of AI. Think of it in terms of like process and automation. People who are capable of thinking how they can change their daily process in a more efficient way to make things more scalable. They will find a way when things iterate every 3 months to make things more effective. I don't know how many people like that really exist though. Like, is that 10% of your company? You know what I mean? Like, not everyone is process minded or has that kind of curiosity to always make things better.
Or we went to a talk last night, right?
Yeah.
By, a pretty, power. I think it's one of the 6 largest accounting firms or whatever. And they were talking about risk management, risk mitigation, and like the strategy. The strategies are built like for a year. So like AI hasn't even caught up to really capitalize on like the changes that can be, occurring within 3 months. Right. So this is so new to everybody. Yeah. I don't know how anybody would be able to understand like how it's going to be harnessed to a point of what the discount in hours would be based on the production for employees.
And the thing to keep in mind, because I was talking to a CTO yesterday, and he's like, this is machine learning in the tech world. This has been around for a long time. Like, it's like people who are in engineering world, they've already been making automations and processes to make their jobs more efficient. It's like second nature to them. Where it's going to be like a reckoning is for everyone else who isn't technically minded, whether they're in sales or marketing or operations or whatever, that thinks of things more in terms of manual processes. And I need more to do with that before I justify my jobs. So I can complete the 40 hours I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That paradigm is going to shift. I'm not going to pretend I have the answer of knowing how, because I think anyone who claims they know is full of shit also. But it's going to... long story short is with all that happening in the background, it's going to completely change the answer to your initial question in ways I don't think we can predict yet.
Jared, you had talked about. Go ahead, John.
I think one thing too, like when anybody's like concerned with AI, I was speaking with a cousin that's an attorney. I was like, yeah, 75% of the attorneys are going to go away. I was like, let's say that happens. Is the world going to be in a worse place? He's like, no, it'd probably be fine. I was like, okay, just make sure you're in the 25%. Meaning that you need to adopt AI like it's a religion. Start practicing, start using it, make sure that you're doing it. And if you're doing that in a way to with your work, then you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
If you're not, then you deserve to get cut because
It's been here. Like, what have you been doing?
Exactly. Yep.
So, Jared, you had talked about you want to get up in the morning and, you want to exercise when you want to, and you want to kind of live the lifestyle that you want to. I would imagine that's not having a negative impact on your productivity. It's probably having a more positive impact than you could even articulate.
100%. I mean,
so
it's therapy.
So if that's the case, then why is that not becoming the standard?
Well, here's the thing. I also didn't say that when I wake up before my kids get up at 5:30, that I'm working until they get up.
Yep.
Or when they go to bed at night, I'm throwing a game on and I'm working till 10 or 11 o'clock at night, right? I don't mind doing any of that stuff because, like, yeah, I'm going to take an hour and a half to work out during the day, or hey, it's nice today. Like, had we not been coming in here, there's a good chance that I would have gone golfing, right? But I also
am.
like weekend. Are you?
I'm going after this.
Yeah.
I like I like work and getting up early on the weekends and working on the weekends, and I don't mind any of that stuff. And it's not like I would never fucking brag about it and say like, oh, like you don't work on the weekends, I work on.
But if you were in fact golfing and a customer called,
yeah,
what happens then?
I'm picking the phone up.
There you go. So
that's the thing. I'm still answering my Slack. I'm still sending emails, like responding to emails, answering like.
But a customer's not calling you up and going at 10:30 at night and going, hey, are you working on this right now? Like, they're not patting you on the back because you're doing that. You're doing that because
probably just assume. I mean,
you just switched out.
Yeah,
it was sunny out during the day, so you took advantage.
Customer would that be though?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, like, dude, you don't want me to sleep at night. You don't want me to enjoy it.
Yeah, we're making some hypotheticals here that like.
I like to do that.
I feel like we work with about 40 executives right now. And I feel like I have a personal relationship with just about all of them, where if they sent me a text or a Slack at night, like, that's fine. They know that I'll respond back to it. It's not a pain in my ass because we know each other. But I think that I wouldn't want, if like for our team, like I wouldn't want somebody on my team, not one of our co-founders, somebody on our team to get that message. That message needs to come to me and not somebody on the team that's out enjoying their life. I don't want them to have to feel like obligated to respond back to a client's Slack at 10:30 at night. I'll do that.
I think the reason why I'm saying this is because I do feel like AI is going to have a huge impact and is going to kind of replace a lot of duties and activities. And I think a lot of people are going to have maybe multiple jobs, or maybe have a job with a company where they do a certain amount of work.
Yeah.
And then
that's
the fractional kind of gig economy.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's in the executive world, especially, like the amount of people I've talked to who are former CMOs or CROs or CFOs now doing fractional work. Some of them love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And like, it's like they're great, but a lot of them don't, because like you also have to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
Not everyone is. If you're a fractional executive, you always have to be looking for more gigs and more stuff to do. So that's a big challenge too, because there's a lot of, I've talked to tons of people in this camp. Most of them are able to get work, but not all of them enjoy having the process of finding that work.
Yeah. And the thing with fractionals, like there's some immensely fantastic people that do fractional work. I think the benefit is more on the company than it is to the actual fractional, because these companies are typically in a stage where they can't afford somebody full time.
Yes.
And these fractionals will give 3, 6, 12 months a year. And then they're just, all right, we're done with you. We
At the third of the price of what they would have to hire a full-time and more talented.
And no benefits.
Yeah.
They have none of those benefits. Maybe they have some of the autonomy and some of the other things, but that's a hard gig. And there's some really talented people doing it. So, I don't know, just the way it's shaking out right now.
So, James, I had asked, John and Jared about kind of what their keys are to get shit done. You're leading a team of people, right?
Yeah.
What is some of the advice that you give to your team that maybe you learned as you were coming up, and now you get the benefit of being in the position you're in and sharing that wisdom? What would be some of those things?
Shit, I don't give anybody advice. Yeah. Damn it. Should have.
I love
Go up into this podcast.
Yeah, James is that quarterback that's the veteran that's brought in.
Yeah.
It's supposed to coach the rookie that just got drafted.
He's Joe Flacco.
Exactly.
Damn it.
I'm a Browns fan.
Here's my advice: don't forget it.
Joe Flacco, who should have been starting, but they were like, well, he's old. But meanwhile, he threw for like 4,000 yards.
The two things I lean into, one, I believe in compound learning. Like you always have to be learning more stuff, but that's where I believe it should be stuff you're passionate about. Like, because I'm talking about skills, not like for myself personally, I got into writing a long time ago, not realizing it would help me do content and help grow the company someday.
Crazy.
But these things end up like I also got into derivatives trading. Like I trade options and I've been trading options and futures for like 10 years. That doesn't help with our business, but in terms of like making split-second financial decisions and making it just makes me
looking at trends and
it's just all these things like having multiple interests that might have nothing to do with your immediate job does eventually will benefit you in your career and whatever your function is. That's one. More tactically though, I just believe that because everyone hates inefficiently run meetings. I believe you got to set next steps. You have to create a task list. Like from a day-to-day standpoint, if you don't have a plan and you're able to execute on it, or you know what your deliverables are for a day or a week or whatever, you're just going to grind in circles. So that's the thing is like the meetings I run, there's always like, there's a next step, there's a deliverable that's okay, who's doing what kind of this week? What's the thing by the next time we meet we have to get done? I do that for myself personally. I have a task list every day. I don't stop until I get everything on it done. Sometimes I realize it was too light. Sometimes I realize too much, but I just think that's basic. But I honestly believe there's a lot of people who don't do it. Is just making sure you're always holding yourself personally accountable to the small things you need to get done that lead up to the bigger things.
So how do you start a meeting? Because traditionally they talk about like the leader in the room should talk last, but you're also setting the tone. So is it kind of like you set the tone, set the agenda, back out? How do you do it?
I mean, we were an EOS shop loosely, so we're kind of following the L10 agenda. If anyone out there listening even knows what that is, but it's always kind of starting out with a personal highlight or business highlight for everyone. Assuming this meeting is a small meeting, it's a meeting of this size, kind of like breaking the ice that way. Then going over metrics and going over maybe like team highlights, then hitting like the next steps, whether they were hit from the previous week, and then it's just discussion time. Like, what do we need to fix?
James's highlight on a Monday morning call. What was your highlight over the weekend? I didn't talk to one person.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great.
Jared's like talking about, I was working on the weekend. I did zero work on the weekend. That was my highlight. No, but I think that you have to have an agenda. You have to stick to the agenda. You have to kind of like make sure people aren't going off track, going off tangents. That's what kills everything. So, but if you can, the way you run your meetings and the way you run your day should be very similar in that standpoint, that just make sure you're getting shit done by making sure you're holding yourself accountable to like what it is you need to do that day.
DSD.
Let's go. How do you do it, John?
What's the question?
How do you start out a meeting? I think it's an interesting topic because I think some people really F up meetings.
Yeah, my meetings are very short and to the point. So if it's a 30-minute meeting, it's probably only going to last 15 minutes. I like the L10 meeting, I'll usually say something off the cuff to get the team a little bit lighter. But then it's just like, okay, what the fuck are we doing here? And it's just literally going into it. And then if I see, this is one thing I didn't mention on my pet peeves. I had a really long list based on our last episode. A little plug there. But when people talk in circles, soon as the first circle comes around, I end the meeting.
Nice.
We already got everything. That means, okay, all right, what are we doing here? Who has what? All right, let's go. And then I just make sure that the takeaways are summed up. It's just like a sales call. An effective sales call is, okay, you sum up what just happened, what the understanding is, and it's a very clear next step. The other thing, too, is I watch out for is just like amorphous dreaming, where, for instance, we have this new SEO campaign going out and everybody's like, oh, we could do this and we could do this and we could do this. That's all grand. It's like, okay, that's wonderful on little treasure island there. But what's this one thing that we're going to do to make sure that this was an effective meeting? And it's like, okay, cool. Get that done and we'll talk again. So I think it's just being very direct, being very clear on like why we're having this meeting and what has to happen.
So we did a really interesting, we started following the Rockefeller principles of the last company I worked at.
Earn, harness?
Earned, yeah. And we started off with a positive. We went positive, priority, stuck. And we did it every morning. And the meeting was like 10 minutes long for like 9 people.
That's awesome.
And we just went around the room. It was like, what's your positive?
Yeah.
All right, cool. We're actually doing, we're really doing it, aren't we, Harry? And then we would go to the priority so everyone knew like what you're focused on. And then we would hit the stuck so that somebody in the room could be like, I know how to help you.
Yeah.
And it was super quick, and we got a lot of shit done that way.
I can give you a really good example, like how we do our company meeting. It was called the Ocho Tino. I think we were at 36 people. Everybody, when we created the meeting, we're just under 40 now. But the purpose of the meeting was to give a company update. So it's myself, my business partner. We talk about, he talks about the production side of things and the finance. Talk about essentially revenue and sales coming in. And then every team member on that call talks for 30 seconds. 15 seconds about something personal, and then 15 seconds about something business. And that meeting has to be done within 18 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just like, boom. And then everybody feels like they're a part of it. And I think, I don't know, it's just another example of how we run a very effective.
I love the idea of the weird length of meeting. And that was the other advice that we had gotten from them is like, don't set up a meeting for like 10:30, set it up for 10:36.
I like,
start a meeting at like a weird
the speed limits in the neighborhood.
And then people
9 miles an hour.
People will more likely be on time for that.
Yeah.
And they don't forget it.
Or really early and be bored as hell for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Small talk with people.
Absolutely. Janice is doing what?
Small talk with Janice.
So Jared, when you're meeting, is same question, but when you're meeting client facing with somebody that you're, let's say, onboarding, and you're going to take over, their brand message, creating content. Talk a little bit about how you set that meeting up and get that conversation going to get the information you need while giving them value along the way.
I'm really glad you changed the context there. I was really getting bored of the whole, like, how do you run a meeting thing? So glad we would play. Oh, Jerry.
He's a great interviewer, man.
Yeah.
So I have a problem, as these two guys can probably agree with here, is
in parentheses.
I'm the person that will go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I dive deep down.
I've already watched that as you asked John questions like, what was it? How much was it? Like,
so that's why I don't
roll down on the rabbit.
I don't run our onboarding calls. Like I'll run the sales call, like to the prospecting call and all of that I'll do. And they're usually 30 minutes, small talk at the beginning. To me, I know people don't like it, but like, that's how I build relationships, and I can get people to pull it's like, oh, eliminate that. Like I'm going to obviously match the mood of the person in the room. Like, but for your question, the onboarding stuff, I'll do it at the beginning because I introduce one of my co-founders, Kelly, runs all of our onboarding calls, and he has a series of questions that in format that he sticks to. But at the beginning of it, I was a big Sandler sales guy. So upfront contracts are big from a sales process, from an onboard, whatever that is. So lay out like, here's what's going to happen. Like at the beginning of this call, like one of two things usually on the sales thing, one of two things is usually going to happen. One, there's interest. We could talk about next steps. Two, not a good timing, not a big deal. Just let me know. Like that's how I handle it. And I do kind of a similar upfront contract on the onboarding calls where I always say like, this is Kelly's show today. Like I'm here as kind of the color commentary guy. I have some thoughts on some of the stuff that we talked about. I filled Kelly in on a lot of that. Like, here's what's going to happen at the end of this. Kelly will walk you through next steps, what that looks like. So then I'll pass the baton on to Kelly. I'm like, Kelly, why don't you do a quick intro? And, John, why don't you intro yourself really quick as well? I'm going to shut up, be quiet. Like if I have any thoughts on anything, I'll jump in, but I'm usually quiet on those onboarding calls. Kelly does a really good job.
So you're going about,
that'll be a great Outworks promo for how your onboarding process works. I like it.
Ooh.
That will be a clip for you.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So you're about the know, like, and trust, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So
I create content for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I create content so people can get to knowing me, liking me, and trust me. I want, by the time they get on the call with me from a prospect standpoint, I want them to already know me to the point where it's like they can bust my balls.
How cool is it when somebody gets on
him on the show?
Yes, exactly.
You knew him.
How cool is it when somebody gets on a call with you and goes, man, I feel like I know you. And you've never met them.
It's weird to say because that's actually happened multiple times before.
Oh, yeah?
It's cool. Yeah.
Then I'll get on there like, I hate your guts.
Yeah.
And so
I didn't say I liked you. I just said I know you.
Not to get
I'm usually a Michigan fan. Like I know you're an Ohio State fan.
This is also why I think video is so important if you're doing content. I've thought this for years, but especially with AI, like we talked about AI before. ChatGPT, like written content is just it's gotten better.
Garbage.
It's still garbage.
Yeah.
And it's garbage because like what I've noticed recently, there's people who like have people I know who have made a post or two that I saw. I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty good. And then you see more and more come out. Like it's the exact same. It's not the same topic.
In a world of technology.
Yeah, I think people are realizing, but the only way to cut through the noise that you're actually you saying these things and not some robot is that you actually do video or a podcast or something like that. Because on some level, it becomes kind of offensive if like you're tricking people into thinking you're saying these things when it's not actually you, and they realize that. Because I've noticed that there's like 2 or 3 people, I'm just like, I don't even want to, like, I actually know this person. I kind of consider them a friend, but I don't want to hear anything they have to say anymore because I know this is not them, but they're trying to trick me into thinking that it is.
This authenticity on your content is key because you're going to be discovered or found out. And I think all of us know that sales is number one. I think that is important is the transfer of energy. Like if you can't make somebody feel something first, because people have to like you before I think they really absorb how smart you are.
They have to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have a convinced mindset more than anything in the sales space. Like if you don't have a convinced mindset, you don't believe in what you're doing.
Describe what a convinced mindset is.
I think that it comes off in the way that your tone is. Like, right, so think about you've worked for a shitty company, you didn't believe in the product or the service you were selling. You jump on calls with you can't fake that. You can't hide that. It comes across. So if you wake up, I mean, I had this when my company got acquired, our service tanked, right? Because we were losing people as a company and they wouldn't let us hire people to replace them. So our service started to tank. When I'm out and I'm talking about this as somebody that was networking a lot, talking about this company, I wasn't confident in we fucking blow.
You no longer believed in them.
I no longer believed in the service that we were offering. I did not have a convinced mindset. When you don't have a convinced mindset as a salesperson or somebody that's going and talking about your company, you wake up like just shitty, this sucks. That comes across. People can sniff that out very quickly. And you may think you're hiding it, but it's like the same thing I used to do when I would drive to meetings and I would smoke a cigarette before and I'd throw some cologne on and whatever.
They still smell
can't fucking smell me. I just did the whole system. Bullshit. As soon as I quit smoking, I'm like, I can smell
the hue in an ashtray.
Yeah.
But I think the energy is because just because you're convinced doesn't still mean you're going to make somebody comfortable, right? Yeah, because I think enthusiasm is important, and there's also, you kind of touched on it earlier, where you're just matching somebody else's energy, right? And you can't match it too, because like if they're too skeptical and you're matching a skeptical energy, so like you have to stay like a few degrees above. But I know sometimes in the sales process, like I can get like really excited, and when I get really excited, I can come off like a dictator. Where I'm like, oh man, we're going to do this and we're going to do this, and then people are like,
which dictator?
I was going to go with Mussolini there, just to
Mussolini. Yeah, he had a rough airing.
Yeah,
I don't know about Gaddafi, but I mean it was pretty rough. But in any event, I think that is one of the things that you just got to be very, very mindful of while you're in there. It's just matching energy. So
tonality.
Yeah,
I think that the most convicted person in the room tends to win, not the loudest. Right? But you definitely have to be convicted. And I think tonality is underrated. But just the way like you emphasize different parts of the conversation, I think.
Yeah, and that's where I think that enthusiasm comes in. Because I'll talk to some salespeople because, we're getting pitched all the time. And I'll even say, hey man, can I give you some pointers? Some people are like, yeah. And I just tell them, and man, they were like really, really thankful.
James, I feel like you're getting bored with this topic, so I'm going to switch it up.
I am.
All right. James, most influential person in your life or
God, terrible at these.
Or coolest person in your cell phone.
Ooh, yeah, that's a really good one.
Me and me.
No, I don't have anybody cool my cell phone.
Really?
No.
I have everybody that's into your cell phone's got to be kind of like.
I haven't given you my number yet.
No. I'm trying to think. What was the first part of the question?
So most influential person in your life, parent, Gandhi, maybe you met at some point, somebody, a boss along the way, somebody that you could like really put your thumb on it and be like, yeah, that person said something to me, taught me something, mentored me.
Probation officer.
Yeah.
You should be
tattoo artist.
It's, I hate to, this is not the answer you're probably looking for, but the job I had previous to Hirewell was like the worst company I ever worked for. So the boss I had at that company was probably the most influential person.
Because you didn't want to, you want to be the exact opposite.
I'd never want to work in an environment like that ever again.
Variance.
The amount of PTSD I had.
Why was it so bad?
It was your typical micromanaged, just chop shop recruiting. It was my first recruiting job, so I was kind of learning the basics and like 100 calls a day, like. But it was constant, like passive aggressive negative energy all the time, like dressing down people in front of the rest of the office and that kind of stuff. Like, not to mention that, but also they had this weird setup where they had like you could listen to each other's calls, which at the time was like a teaching and like you could I could listen to his calls, I could hear all he does with clients, but the amount of times I would hear him outright lie to clients, but in this like weird tone, and then like it was all
see what I did there? Just see what I did there?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, and it got you thinking like, is this whole profession based upon just lying to people all the time?
What's his name?
Yeah, I'm not gonna throw it out there.
Mussolini.
Yeah, no, I'm not giving those guys any publicity.
They're still in business?
Maybe.
Just look at his LinkedIn.
I don't even look at it anymore. 100%. I might have taken it off. Anyways, I think I put something really snarky under. All right, that one. So, all right, good move. No, but like, yeah. So, yeah, I would say, that the worst boss ever was probably the most influential.
That is right on target with exactly who you are.
Yeah.
So
good
fun.
point. Like it is because I couldn't imagine you actually saying somebody it was like a mentor or good. Like that answer was the perfect answer.
It was the perfect answer.
I mean, I've had good bosses and stuff. It's just that I never had anyone
by the hardness.
Every time someone's like, oh, so-and-so is my mentor, like I never really had a mentor. And I don't mean that in any disrespect to anyone else, but like some people have like a formal mentor. So I guess
mentors. Yeah.
I don't really had a mentor.
I don't think I had multiple people that I learned from. Yeah. I would call them all mentors. I mean, I could always say my parents, I could say my wife, but
for me, there wasn't one that was like far and away like the
took me under their wing.
Yeah, I never had any of that, but I did have one dickhead who was like the most worst person I ever met in my life.
Yeah, what do they call that? They need to come up with a name for that.
Dickhead.
But it like helped him.
An anti-asshole?
Yeah, I don't think so. We're degrading.
Yeah. Anyway,
John, coolest person in your phone.
Oh man, I don't know. I'd have to go through it. I just got rid of like 3,000 contacts in the other day.
Holy.
How many of those were old like girls that used to hang out with?
Well, he's been they're AI people on OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, yeah.
They're AI. So
yeah, but yeah, no, I don't know if I have a lot of mentors though.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's some I still keep in touch with some who have died. And I think the more people you can get around you that are going to be able to teach you something and call you on your shit and show you a better way is, for me, very important because, I mean, I make mistakes all day long.
Did you find your mentor or did they find you?
I found all of them. Yeah. I think if I've never been that person. Some of the best advice I had from a mentor, a guy that became one, was I was complaining to him about this business partnership I had at the time, and I wanted all these things to happen. And he was like an old Mad Men kind of exec, and he owned an agency too. And he's like, he's like, John, when you gonna fucking learn? And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He's literally drinking vodka.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 PM. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you're the lion. And I was like, what does lion mean? He's like, if you want something to happen, you gotta roar. And I was like, oh, fuck, that actually makes sense. And it's true. So anything you want in life or anything you want to have happen, like you have to do something about it. You have to roar. You have to take an action on it. And that's exactly what I did. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I love it when you fake smoke cigarettes.
yeah.
It's fucking...
It was pretty cool. Like I pictured like a Saturday Night Live skit. It was like Dan Aykroyd when he's like, it's a bag of glass. It's a bag of glass. You get it up with the thing.
Kids
Or it's like, yeah, you just wrap it around your neck, get out and do it. Like that. That's what I at least I pictured.
Man, I'm thinking. I don't have anybody on my phone.
Here's what's really cool about this. Like that I'm enjoying. Most people would be like a celebrity or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, man, it sucks.
What's the best answer you've gotten from that?
I don't know that I've really asked it that much.
I kind of just your trademark.
To be honest with you, I looked over your shoulder and I had John Cirasani on as a guest, and he's like this Instagram kind of like celebrity poker player, right?
Well,
and that kind of
influencer is the last person I want to.
And but I just thought to myself, but he played football in Notre Dame, he played football at Northwestern, and But I just kind of looked at him and I thought to myself, like the last few posts I saw him with, he was with like a bunch of celebrity athletes and whatever. So that's what caused me to think of the question.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a good question.
I wish I was cooler, but I mean, I have friends that probably have a lot of names.
Yeah, like a few degrees apart. Yeah,
Yeah, the Kevin.
I know people who know people.
Yeah.
And mentor wise, I mean, there's reverse people. I would say anybody on that leadership team at that company, like that taught me some lessons. But everybody's got like, I'm thinking like of 5 or 6 people that I've learned so much from throughout my career. You know, one of them is one of my best friends. Like, actually, multiple of them are best friends that I've just learned a shit ton from. So I wish I had a better answer for you of one specific person.
I got a cool kind of story. So his dad taught Jeffrey Dahmer.
It's great.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty cool.
There we go.
Hold on. Let's close the loop on this. What did he teach him?
Oh, this is what's the.
This is where it gets a little.
Slice and dice.
Well, I mean, think about
He worked for a cutlery company.
it's. So my dad was a biology teacher
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
or
Taught him a lot.
biology teacher,
Taught him all the wrong things.
baseball coach,
Biology of young boys.
biology teacher and baseball coach at my high school for like 35 years or something.
Wow, that's cool.
But and cross country coach. But yeah, he taught Jeffrey Dahmer. When all that happened, it was in the hometown. It's where I grew up, and there was just I was young. I think I was 9. I forget what year it was in the late 80s. And there was he was interviewed on the news, and there was camera trucks all over the place. And then he moved to Milwaukee and killed a few people up here.
Yeah.
But his first person he killed was in my hometown.
Wow. I don't know how to segue.
No, I didn't. The guys, exciting edition of the We Get Shit Done podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
So James, give us some inspirational.
That had nothing to do with what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of the coolest person that might be in your phone,
It's not Jeffrey Dahmer.
but your dad.
My dad
The
did.
dad is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's pretty-
He just jumped up.
I'll
light
say
up
that.
for it.
My dad's my coolest person in my phone.
You know what's interesting is, and James, I think you'll like this because I think it relates to how you answered it. The people that have had the biggest impact from a mentorship standpoint for me screwed me over. They all have. When I think back on all of them, they were like powerful men that screwed
It's
me
the
over.
tough lessons that teach you more than the good ones. You know what I mean? Like advice can only take you so far, but like a good getting fucked over is something you never.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think of the guy. I think of the guy who owned the company. Like when I first came up, and I just idolized him. And then the more I grew up, and the more I learned, and the more I got into the inner circle and saw like how he actually lived his life.
Yeah.
Like, what was it though? What was that turnoff that you saw about him? Like,
Just like the
Hookers, blow. Oh, was it?
probably, yeah, probably a lot of those things. I think more just could stand up in front of 400 people and captivate a room with just unbelievable business expertise and knowledge, and like you just want to run through a wall and go sell.
yeah.
I mean, just unbelievable. But then you would get into a room and you'd be like, oh, he just said fire that motherfucker like 6 times
So
because the
classic
guy.
sociopath, like
Yeah.
asthmatic to
Yeah.
I've met too many guys like that, man. It's like literally,
whoa.
yeah.
Yeah.
But some of those guys are 3D, which is something that I've learned. So you can't just judge them based on that. So for instance, I had a buddy, this guy, he's like just a total piece of trash. He will rip you off from the day as long. But I knew another buddy that his kids were stuck in Utah, like just, it was during COVID. They wouldn't let him fly. And these are like 2 like infants. And, so I was like, okay. So I asked this guy that is the biggest piece of trash, has multiple planes. He's made more money ripping everybody off. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. So it's just weird. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
my God, it's completely the same thing.
Yeah,
and I've got like a personal story. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law were trying to have a baby and couldn't have a baby, and I told him this story about this, and he essentially just forked over a envelope full of money
Yeah.
to go get like the in vitro.
Yeah.
Right?
It's crazy.
It just crazy, and would do things like that. So one time, we had asked him like, I don't know if I was in the room and somebody else asked, or if I asked, or if I got it secondhand, but essentially he said, one day we're going to be judged, and I know I've done a lot of really bad things. I just hope that I've done enough to overcome the bad things.
Not according to the GS podcast.
No, but I mean, I wouldn't be. I probably would not be doing this right now. I wouldn't be the salesperson that I was. Like, I still will catch myself talking similar to how he does, especially like if your sales team is really down and not hitting the numbers, and you look around the room and you realize like I can't beat them up.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna have to lift them up at some point and give them some tools. And I'll hear myself talking like, oh my God, that was him. And then I'm like, yeah, but he fucked me over too.
Yeah.
So it's 3D though, man.
Yeah, it's
just
crazy.
the best way to look at that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. But the thing is, like, you can't have those people too close to you because something bad is going to happen to you eventually.
This is why you shouldn't idolize another man or woman.
Yeah.
Because everyone's flawed.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
People let you down.
They really do.
Don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had another boss who said, don't be so optimistic. He said, you need to be far more pessimistic and skeptical, and then you'll never be let down. So if you just expect that people are going to let you down, then you expect that. So when they do, it's not that big of a deal. But if you expect they're going to let you down and then they come through, then you're pleasantly surprised.
Say this only solo because I don't want you to let me down.
James is fire.
That's nothing.
Yeah, I can see that you following that tactic of, when I meet somebody, like if I like them, I'll hang out with them. But you probably don't. Your circle of friends. I have a buddy that has a really good friend, great guy, but he doesn't want a lot of friends because he just is like, how many people are in your circle of friends?
That's kind of a personal question. Weird. Yeah, that is a weird question.
A lot of friends.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't mean like core friends. Like
I would say I'm an acquaintance
I don't have
guy.
a lot of core friends.
Yeah, you're an acquaintance guy?
Yeah. I like when it's
say
me.
that's with a ton of people from college.
Yeah.
I don't see her that often because they don't like live here. But there's a lot of people I stay in touch with.
I got like one guy. I think it's by accident that we stay.
The thing is, like, a lot of my friends don't live here anymore. So I have multiple tight circles of friends. They're just not like people I hang out.
Are they back
here?
PAs?
No.
They're all over the East Coast. A couple on the West. Like all over.
Yeah.
So I stay in touch with people. It's just that when I moved out here, I'm not from here originally. Like I didn't have like a core of like high school or college friends that were here with me. But
I just moved here. Yeah.
I just don't like to hang out.
Oh,
I have no time for small talk.
Yeah. Are you
Like,
an introvert? Are you an introvert?
I think I'm an introverted extrovert.
That's called
like
ambivert.
I can flip it on when I need to.
It is.
Is that what it's called?
It's called an ambivert.
That's actually most people.
Most people fall into
That's the whole,
ambivert.
yeah, it's like most people. Like it's a spectrum. Most people are on the introversion.
I could be on that too.
But if you're in sales, you've trained yourselves to be extroverts. I'm not an extrovert, but I pretend to be like during networking.
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm
I'm
an ambivert for sure, but that's the thing. Like, I like to say pretty much whatever I want to say, and that's what creates the liability. All the time. Where dude, like it's not once a week where I'm like, I shouldn't have said that, dude. So let me give you an example. I have my whole team. We're on like a Zoom, and there's all these balloons and everything behind one of my employees. And I was like, just trying to make a joke, right? The whole company's on there, I was like, who died? Well, she fell, her head. Somebody did fucking die. I didn't know that, right?
Yeah.
So then next thing you know, I'm just trying to have fun, trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
And I realized that this employee wants to quit now because she thinks her boss. Everybody in the company knew, but it's not like anybody sent me a memo that her best friend had cancer.
And it's kind of like just a thing that people say in pop culture.
Dude, exactly. It's just a quick joke. If you think about it, it's a pretty lazy joke at the end of the day.
He's so pissed right now.
It's
kind of worked out.
You just went from like 0 to 10 fast.
You might want to change that to who got injured.
But here's the thing. She never let me work it out. Like she never let me like fix it. And I tried. I was like, yeah. So anyway, I know that was me going dictator where I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But I mean, it's an honest mistake. I mean, it's too bad that maybe she just already didn't like you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like the letdown thing. Yeah. I mean, this person's not going to do anything good for me.
That's what you say that day. That was just the straw. But you don't want this back.
You know what's super cool about this episode is it's so in line with what you had said about your podcast. It's literally has been about nothing, but I think it's been entertaining. There's been a lot of good views. James is bored as hell.
I'm totally shut down.
He's
I told you earlier that like every podcast past the 40-minute mark, you're just rehashing.
You got to think of the clips, baby. Because you got to think of the clicks. It's all about the clicks. Get some nicotine.
But I think if you create enough nothing, you're going to create something.
That's it.
That's the formula.
And I don't have enough substance or sophistication to know how to create that thing targeted. So I just got to throw a whole bunch of stuff out there and just be like, okay, that was good.
But it's kind of like you're going to get a shit ton of, you got a bunch of clips probably. Like, you got me talking about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
This is going to sound super cheesy, but the coolest person in my phone is actually my wife because she deals with all of my shit.
I love that.
To the level of like, I wouldn't be able to see any other human deal with, some of my crazy ideas or some of my harebrained ideas to somebody. Yeah, there's very few people on the planet that will actually not only entertain it, but be able to get behind it And so I would say that's like
I'm totally making a clip for you on that one. You said it's on your anniversary.
He's going to cut it from the podcast.
Yeah.
And keep a clip for it just for you to say.
No, but I'm being genuine about that, man. I know you have somebody like that in your life that's super important.
I like that.
That's cute.
Yeah, because it's just there's too much cynicism.
You know what?
Oh,
Now you're going to make us look like an asshole.
Yeah, James, you want to talk about your wife real quick?
yeah, let's do it. Let's do
I can't believe the podcast's still going. Stop. Wrap it up.
Well, we're going to wrap it up.
All right, there's been like 4 points where we could just stopped it. And everyone's got to keep.
But then somebody asked another was this kind of keeps going in. All right, so you guys are 12 episodes in. Just give us a little bit of an idea what to expect on upcoming episodes. How do people find you? What do you hope to provide them?
But business is bullshit. We're on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. You can find us on LinkedIn. Search our names are easy to find. We're just going to keep dumping on bullshit we see in the business. We'll take requests. If anyone has something pissing them off, I feel like no one's talking.
Do you guys see yourself having guests on?
No, never.
You know, we thought about it. There was a big scam that was happening in Chicago where I almost got ripped off, and I was thinking about we could have her on the show.
Oh, Jesus.
Have the person on who ripped you off?
Yeah, that tried. Yeah. I think that would be a good one. Other than that, I don't. Yeah,
People have asked, like, I want to come on your podcast. I'm like, oh, well, James has shut that door.
But James doesn't want you to.
Nope. Yeah. That's a great way to do it. Like we want.
The last thing I'll say is like so many of them, and you can shake your head without.
No, I know.
So many that are boring. So many that have nothing to say, or it's just like pulling teeth. Like I like having fun on a podcast. I don't want to have like a 50-50 hit rate, if that someone's actually going to be like engaged in.
I've had 2 or 3 podcasts, I will tell you, that are still sitting in the file.
Names. I know with these two, I'm going to have fun every single time. It's never going to be boring. And yes, you can't. I never want to do another podcast where.
And you can call us on our shit, and we're not going to be hurt by it. You're going to be like, okay, fucking stop. You know what I'm saying? And then we can move on, and it can be like very direct, but still fun like that. You do that with somebody you barely know.
Yeah,
you're on their hit list, man.
It is hard to interview somebody, especially when it's like I met them through LinkedIn or somebody else set it up. And it's like I've done like a half hour kind of check on them, but they have no content where they're on video.
Yeah.
So I've only read some of their stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
Even in person.
I really take a half hour to talk with them for a little bit. And even then it's like,
I had a previous podcast and I did like 100 episodes because somebody told me like, oh dude, as soon as you get to your 100, like judge whether like it's good or not. I was like, well, it wasn't.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
But I did one and it was so bored. I fell asleep on it and I still published.
You fell asleep on the podcast?
Like falling asleep and waking up, falling. And yeah, it's still on there. Yeah. And the guy, he's a nice guy, but dude, he's just boring as hell, man. Yeah. So if somebody.
Well, hopefully you weren't bored.
No, this was fun.
No, dude, this was cool.
For the first,
no, you have a really good
first hour. I was
Just get a pace. You know what? When you asked that, I immediately jumped and said, no, it was great because I knew that was coming. So I wanted that to be the last John.
Thing. Isn't that what do they call that? Like when you have like an alcoholic like partner and you're like trying to like protect them. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like what is that called? I don't know.
I don't know. Those guys. Please end it.
All right, we're gonna end it. We're gonna end it on that.
No, it was fun. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And again, check out the Business is Bullshit podcast. And please like, subscribe, download, all that stuff. And check them out on LinkedIn. Cheers.
Dude,
hey, I want to remind you guys, you got shit done.
Yeah.
Cheers.
All right, well on.
Can your business handle 15% growth? If yes, you have to engage with 2020 Design. They fuse data and creativity to stop the scroll, break through the noise, and grab the attention of your future customers. 2020 Design will create competitive, click-worthy campaigns, design and build custom websites, spark your social media presence, and structure email campaigns that get right to your audience, the decision maker. Let's boost attention and awareness, which allows you to convert more sales. Check them out at 2020design.com. That's the number 20, TWENTY design.com.